Good Wednesday again to you, everybody in COM 785. Welcome to week 9 and our review of week boom 8. This is the video in which we take a look back at the last week's content, what you said, and then we add a little bit to it if we can, and take it from there. Okay. So if you haven't already, go over and watch my other video, the first one that we did today. When I say we, I mean me, on the content for week 9. Week 8, also, the majority of the reading focused in on Cialdini's text. And as I said in prepping the material for last week, if you could only read one chapter, this chapter 10 would probably be the one you would want to focus on. Because in it, Cialdini boils down the 6 principles of influence, right? And then, he unpacks them a little bit, gives you some qualifiers, okay? So let's take a look at the questions. Let's take a look at what you said and see what we can add, okay? Question number 1, list Cialdini's 6 principles of influence. Discuss which of these 6 you have used or had used upon you, okay? Because, maybe you haven't thought about the principles of influence, but maybe after reading Cialdini, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that sounds an awful lot like, what so-and-so did when I was trying to buy a car or whatever. Okay, Billy, we'll take you because, as usual, you were first. The 6 principles of influence are reciprocation, liking, social proof, authority, scarcity, and consistency. The one of the 6 that I have often used is the principle of liking. Finding common ground with another person is essential in recruiting. That is, so Billy works as a recruiter, and it seems like nearly everybody that goes through the Army gets their turn to take a crack at that, okay? Once I find something similar that we can relate to and discuss and how we are alike, this affords me the leverage needed to get the candidate to the finish line. Building that likeness between myself, my background, and the candidates is key to closing the deal. Very well put. And for those of you that were in the service, thank you for your time and energy. That's for your service. You probably know this, and those who were not may not know that when you have a volunteer army, the volunteer military, okay, it's essential that you develop methods by which you reach out and continue to reestablish the ranks and the necessary persons to fill out all the jobs, referred to as MOSs. So you got to have somebody go out and look for them, okay? So excellent example, Billy, using that principle of liking to do your job as a recruiter, okay? Question next, what is newsjacking? In answering this question, find and discuss an example of newsjacking not in your text. And what I mean by this is I want you to go out and look in a library or the World Wide Web or something like that. Okay, Dominique, let's take you. I like what you're up to here. You say newsjacking is how you inject your ideas into breaking news stories and generate tons of media coverage. The goal is to find ways to make your organization part of the trending story that people are already talking about. Submarine sinking was the first thing that came to mind. I was thinking about newsjacking. Also things about Elon Musk's space shuttle to the moon. These stories took over the major news outlets while organizing capitalization of it. Okay, now I use this example because I think both, Dominic, you're on track, and then in part you missed the plot here a little bit. All right, I don't know that the company that sent the ill-fated submarine down OceanGate intended to hijack the news cycle. In fact, I think they would have been just as happy if their names had been left out, at least minus a story about all the wondrous sights that the participants on this trip saw when they, motored down to see the Titanic. Okay, that's not exactly what we mean by newsjacking. Now, Elon Musk is a master at newsjacking. When he acquired Twitter, he was well aware that he was purchasing a product that did not have a value equal to the price tag. In fact, I mean, I've never, I don't know the guy, but from the interviews and what I've seen out of it, heard out of his mouth, and read from what he's written, he purchased it more on principle than on push for profit. All right. I mean, he knew, for example, and if you followed the acquisition early on, a lot of the supposed users on Twitter that gave it, the size in terms of its user base that in turn drove the ad revenue. A lot of those users were not real people. They were bots. They were fake accounts generating retweets of actual accounts, and fake accounts don't generate any advertising revenue. Okay. So to circumvent that, to get around that problem, he very cleverly used the news. He hijacked a number of stories. Now, I can say, that he may be very sincere in saying, someone has to save Twitter from itself, and someone has to save the country from Twitter, and someone has to save free expression, and someone has to save the First Amendment. And I don't say that, I don't use that voice and like, oh, these are things like ha 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 ha. I'm talking about the motives of Elon Musk. But without actually linking himself to personas like Donald Trump or Tucker Carlson, he very shrewdly used those individuals to access major media platforms to drive interest to his newly acquired property, Twitter. That's newsjacking. All right. So when you take some element, and it doesn't have to be political per se, when you take some element and there's a juicy tidbit for the news media, news entities, and you throw it out there. Another example that I can think of was IHOP a few years ago came out and said, you know what, we're done with breakfast. International House of Pancakes will be no more. Now we're going to be serving burgers. We're going to change the name. It's not going to be IHOP anymore. It could be like International House of Burgers IBOP. And they threw out what was a pretty, derpy sounding name. Okay. They generated a news story about a fake story. They had no intention of changing their name. To generate publicity for hamburgers they already served. That's newsjacking. Let me recommend a book for you. Now, you're going to read something from this author here coming up shortly. Mark Mathis, and actually him I have met. I interviewed him once. Sharp guy. Feeding the Media Beast. Now, this book is a little dated. Let's see, I think it was 2002. Yeah, really dated. But the principles in here are timeless. And what I mean by a little dated, because he there's not a lot of discussion of how social media operates now, but in terms of the mentality and the thinking and the process of media, he is spot on. So if you're in a business in which you think you could profit from using the media more advantageously, get this book. All right. Because what he really drills down on is, there are three fundamental facts he sort of pounds into the reader's head. Number one, the media needs you more than you need them, because number two, we now live in a 24/7 media cycle, which number three creates a constant craving for content. And so, all you have to do is get up in the morning, and I don't care what news feed source you use. Right? If you look at CNN or saying I get up in the morning and I go through a number of media platforms on my phone. So I get up. This is kind of my routine. Okay, I get up. I often do some writing where I just shut everything off. So I'm up at about 5:30. I try to write for a couple of hours. I've had one cup of coffee. All right, and that sort of gets me going. And then I get another cup of coffee. I go sit somewhere where it's quiet. I'm not in my office. I'm not writing, and I go through the media, go through a number of platforms. So, for instance, there is a platform that I pull a lot of things into called Flipboards. Okay, there's a platform. I think I mentioned this to you before, called Grounded. Let's see, where is it? Let's see if you can see that. Okay. Okay. And Grounded is interesting because it rates left, right, and center of news stories. All right. And then I go to some of the major media entities. I flip through Fox, I flip through CNN. I don't spend a lot of time with MSNBC. I find that they sort of shadow CNN, and there's a redundancy there. But anyway, do that for a couple of mornings and notice, what cannot be described as anything else but inane in terms of some of the stories that you're going to see. All right. So for instance, I just just for the heck of it, I just opened the Fox News app, and I'm flipping through. Now this is midday, so we're past morning. Okay. And I'm looking at some of the stories. All right. Okay. Author sues OpenAI for copyright infringement, claims ChatGPT unlawfully ingested their books. Okay. Now, if this is a class action lawsuit, that's actually an important story. Okay. All right. Oscar-winning actresses reveals all on red carpet. Really? I mean, first of all, a red carpet where? I mean, what? She stepped out of the limo stark naked? Somehow, I doubt it. Okay. Kate Middleton pays tribute to Queen Elizabeth. Really? This is not news. Okay, this is filler. Now, the trick for you, and this is what Mathis is getting at, is how do you make your stuff so irresistible that you become a constant stream of information that the point of success that you want to aim for is to flip the script, that is, in which you aren't chasing all of these media entities, hence the name Beast. They're chasing you, where the stories you've sent out for them are so tasty and so drive their audience that they keep coming back to you. Okay, that's what you're looking for. All right, let's take a question number 3. I asked you about how you become an H2H marketer. That is, human to human is what this stands for. And, you'll sometimes see like B2B, business to business marketing. So summarize and discuss how to become an H2H marketer. Daryl, I like what you're doing here. Becoming an H2H marketer requires a firm understanding of the industry and the players within the industry. The basis of a human to human is using relationships as bridge to share information. Yeah, exactly. And if you go to chapter 10 in Cialdini and you drill down on those 6 principles of influence and persuasion, you're going to find that all of them have this in common. That we think of marketing, and social media as well. It just goes out to the nameless person. No. And again, and you'll read in Mathis that he talks about gathering certain people around you. Cialdini does this in his, I'm sure I must have recommended it to you, his other book. Here we go, Influence. He's saying, look, there are certain types of people that you want to draw around you. And some of them are what we call mavens. They love to be the person who's telling everybody about what's happening now. Okay. Oh, this is so cool. You got to be doing this. I saw this. Their reward for the experience of what you're doing is being recognized by others as being in the know of what's to be done. These people you want to gather around your organization and what you're doing and get them to send the word out for you. This is human to human marketing. Okay. Ultimately, a consumer becomes your marketer. There's a social science element that requires you study the patterns of your human to human partners so that you can understand their language and effectively communicate on their level so they can market your message. Excellent. And in fact, one of the reasons that your answer jumped out at me, Daryl, is I noticed that, excuse me, in responding to Billy, you include the 2 clips from Beal and Newton, Cam Newton, as examples of professional athletes in human-to-human marketing. And I thought that was excellent. And this is for you, Daryl. If you haven't already, did you watch any of the series All or Nothing? I think it was I think it's Netflix. Okay. It's either Netflix or Amazon, one of those two. It was narrated by Jon Hamm for a while, the actor who starred in Mad Men. Okay. One of the seasons that they did in All or Nothing was focused on Cam Newton and Atlanta. Right? Was he playing for the Falcons? Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm sorry, not Atlanta, the Jaguars. The savvy of this guy, Cam Newton, and how he managed to work H2H marketing relationships. You can see the direct line, the impact of his success and ascension on the team. That is, to and through the team. So anyway, if you haven't seen that series All or Nothing, take a look at that one, the one with Cam Newton in it. Excellent. Okay, question number 4. Consider the demographic data from YouTube users in Figure 9.1. This is back to Wilson et al. Is this data accurate in 2023? Now, the reason that I gave you this, this is really straightforward, okay, is I want you to develop an instinctual reaction that when you see data, and especially when you're dealing with social media data, and especially if the data is older than 6 months, all right, your immediate reaction would be, well, let's check it. Right now, if you're in a meeting and one of your bosses is presenting this, don't stick your hand up and go, oh, hey, boss, that's probably out of date. And, okay, think. But you, on your own, go and check the data, because there are patterns and there are movements, and these things are shifting. They are not static like any market. Okay, Cheryl. So this is what you said. The landscape of social media has changed little since first being adopted by the masses. Growth appears to be slowing despite new technology and mobile apps. However, even though it may be slowing, it simply means that more consumers are using mobile technology versus desktop or laptops to gain access, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so again, and I pick you, Cheryl, because like Daryl from the last one, there you got part of this right, and you got part of this, you missed something that I wanted you to get at. Okay, and that is, I wanted you to actually go. If you look back at the question, I want you to check the data for 2023, and is it accurate? And then I want you to be able to cite where it is that you get your data from. So Brandy, you got this. Billy, I'm sorry, Dominic, because you went first. I'm the Billy. Billy, you're always first. Okay, Dominic, you get this right in saying, well, the data's remain consistent, but I'm looking for your source. Okay, how do you know that the data is consistent? All right, the data is consistent. There's that currently the percentages by way of demographic of YouTube users have not moved a whole lot over the last 5-6 years. Because this thing was published 5 years ago, but it's in production. It's not like published on the day it's written. Okay. All right. Watch the other video over there in the course content folder that talks about week 9. Okay. What it is I'm after. If you didn't get what it was I was after in week 8, go back, make sure that you look it up and look at it. Make sure that you're familiar with tables and charts when I point them out to you, because, I might reference them and asking you about demographics and trends. I'm not going to say, oh, tell me exactly what's on this table. I don't expect you to digest a table, but the big picture, the message from it, that's going to be something that you will see again. on the exam. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so very, very much. Have a blessed week. All right. Keep working together in your groups on your semester projects, and I will see you, in a few days again on Blackboard. God bless. Bye-bye.